Stop grinding and start grounding. Why Black women must build thrones, not climb ladders. Good evening. I want to start by introducing you to someone who is changing the trajectory of what it means to lead, to thrive, and to survive as a Black woman in spaces that were never designed to hold us. Her name is LaToya Boyd, and she is not just a visionary leader, she is a disruptor of the highest order. LaToya Boyd is dismantling the entire architecture of exclusion that has kept brilliant Black women locked out of boardrooms, executive suites, and rooms where decisions get made, deals get closed, and legacies get built. Her work centers on something she calls sovereign leadership, a framework that teaches high achieving Black women to reclaim their internal authority, regulate their nervous systems, and lead from a place of grounded power rather than exhausting, soul crushing performance. What LaToya Boyd understands and what she is helping thousands of women across this country understand is that the system was not designed for us to win. So we have to design our own winning strategies. We have to stop playing rigged games. We have to stop climbing broken ladders. We have to start building our own thrones. And tonight, Jeanette, I want to share the insights from my conversation with LaToya Boyd, insights that challenge everything we have been told about leaning in, working twice as hard to get half as far, and grinding until we break. Let me start with something that might surprise you, something that should make every single person in this room uncomfortable. We have all heard about the glass ceiling, right? That invisible barrier that keeps women from reaching the top. The metaphor is everywhere. Shatter the glass ceiling, break through, lean in. But here's what LaToya Boyd helped me see, and here's what the data confirms in ways that are impossible to ignore. For Black women, it is not a glass ceiling, it is a concrete ceiling. And the difference matters more than you think. Glass, you can see through. Glass theoretically can shatter if you hit it hard enough and if you are strategic enough, if you are lucky enough. But concrete is thick. Concrete is impenetrable. Concrete is reinforced by decades, generations, centuries of compounded bias, intersectional discrimination, and systemic exclusion. Concrete does not crack when you push against it. Concrete crushes you when you try. The data backs this up in ways that should make us all stop and reckon with what we have built. For every 100 men promoted to manager, only 54 Black women get that same promotion. 54, not 87, which is the number for women overall. 54. Let that sink in. That is not a pipeline problem. That is not a confidence gap. That is not a skills issue. That is a design flaw. That is a rigged game. That is a system that was built to keep us out, to keep us down, to keep us exhausted. And LaToya Boyd is teaching women to stop playing rigged games and start building their own thrones. Now, I want you to think about what that number really means. 54 Black women promoted for every 100 men. That is not just a statistic on a PowerPoint slide. That is someone's mother. That is someone's sister. That is someone's daughter. That is someone who worked late nights while everyone else went home. That is someone who brought solutions to problems no one else could solve. That is someone who mentored junior colleagues, who carried the culture work, who did the diversity work, who performed the emotional labor, who held the team together during crisis after crisis. And still, she got passed over. And here is the kicker. When Black women do make it to senior levels, 60% of them report frequent burnout. 60%. Because even when we get in the room, we are expected to do more than everyone else. We are expected to prove ourselves more than everyone else. We are expected to carry burdens no one else is asked to carry. LaToya Boyd calls this the managerial tax. It is the unrecognized, uncompensated labor that Black women perform just to stay in spaces that were never designed to hold us in the first place. So, what do? Do we just accept this? Do we keep grinding until we burn out, until we break down, until we disappear? LaToya Boyd says no. She says we need to embrace sovereign leadership. And sovereign leadership starts with something that might sound radical to some of you. It starts with regulating your nervous system. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You are thinking, regulate my nervous system. I need a promotion, not a meditation app. I need a raise, not a breathing exercise. But here's what LaToya Boyd understands, that most leadership experts, most corporate consultants, most diversity and inclusion professionals completely miss. You cannot lead powerfully from a dysregulated state. You cannot make clear decisions when your body is in fight or flight mode. You cannot set boundaries when you are running on fumes. You cannot build a legacy when you are barely surviving. Sovereign leadership is about leading from internal authority, not external validation. It is about knowing your worth so deeply, so unshakably, that you stop seeking permission from systems that were never going to give it to you anyway. Let me tell you about a woman named Ursula Burns. Ursula Burns was the first Black woman to become CEO of a Fortune 500 company. She led Xerox from 2009 to 2016, navigating one of the most male dominated industries in the world, technology and manufacturing. Ursula Burns was born in the projects of New York City to a single Panamanian mother who cleaned offices and ironed shirts to pay the bills. She earned an engineering degree from Cornell University, started as an intern at Xerox in 1980, and climbed her way to the top. But here is what is important. Ursula Burns did not just work hard. She did not just put in the hours. She practiced sovereign leadership before we even had a name for it. She built internal resilience. She sought strategic sponsors, not just mentors who would give her advice over coffee. She focused on profit and loss results, not performative diversity efforts that looked good in annual reports but changed nothing. And she regulated her energy so she could sustain high stakes leadership amid constant, relentless bias. Ursula Burns shattered the concrete ceiling by refusing to let the system define her worth. She built her own throne. And when she sat in that CEO chair, she did not just represent herself, she represented every Black girl who was told she did not belong, every Black woman who was told to stay in her place, every Black mother who sacrificed so her daughter could dream bigger. Now, let me tell you about Rosalind Brewer. Rosalind Brewer became the second Black woman to lead a Fortune 500 company when she took over as CEO of Walgreens Boots Alliance in 2021. Rosalind Brewer is an Atlanta native, a Spelman College graduate, and she climbed from senior vice president at Sam's Club to chief operating officer at Starbucks before landing at Walgreens. But Rosalind Brewer faced what researchers call double jeopardy, the compounded, multiplied, amplified impact of racial and gender bias. She faced high burnout from the managerial tax. She faced a weak job market where Black women's unemployment sits at 6.3% compared to 4% overall. She faced limited access to sponsorship. She faced limited access to artificial intelligence training, which only 21% of women are encouraged to pursue compared to 33% of men. The system was stacked against her at every turn. But Rosalind Brewer prioritized nervous system regulation. She built sponsorship networks. She set boundaries so she could focus on strategic profit and loss work instead of endless, exhausting culture work that drained her energy and gave her nothing in return. And the result? She drove digital transformation at Walgreens. She doubled digital sales. She modeled what sovereign leadership looks like in real time, under pressure, under scrutiny, under the weight of being one of only two. Rosalind Brewer did not wait for the system to fix itself. She regulated her energy and led from internal sovereignty. She built her own throne. And then there is Melody Hobson. Melody Hobson co led DreamWorks, serves as president of Ariel Investments, and became the first Black woman to chair the board of Disney. Melody Hobson grew up in Chicago, graduated from Princeton University, and joined Ariel Investments at age 20. She rose in an industry finance that has historically excluded Black women from profit and loss roles, the very roles that lead to CEO positions, the very roles that build wealth, the very roles that create generational change. Only 13% of women hold CEO roles in healthcare, and the numbers are similarly dismal in finance. But Melody Hobson practiced sovereign leadership. She regulated her energy. She built sponsor relationships, mentored by John Rogers, who advocated for her when she was not in the room. She developed tech fluency in the AI era, and she sustained growth without burning out. Today, Ariel Investments manages over $2 billion in assets. Melody Hobson has served on the Starbucks board for over 25 years. She is influencing equitable investing across entire industries. Melody Hobson did not climb the broken ladder, she built her own throne. Now, here's what LaToya Boyd wants us to understand. These women, Ursula Burns, Rosalind Brewer, Melody Hobson, they are not superhuman. They are not exceptions. They are not unicorns. They are examples of what becomes possible when you stop trying to fit into systems designed to exclude you and start leading from sovereign leadership. And sovereign leadership rests on three key insights that LaToya Boyd shared with me. Insights that every Black woman entrepreneur, every Black woman professional, every Black woman leader needs to hear, needs to internalize, needs to act on. First, let's break the concrete ceiling by prioritizing nervous system sovereignty. Regulate your energy to lead from internal power, not external validation. This counters the 54 to 100 promotion gap. When you lead from a regulated nervous system, you make better decisions. You set clearer boundaries. You stop performing for approval and start operating from authority. This is not soft. This is not self care fluff. This is strategic. This is survival. This is power. Second, demand sponsorship over mentorship. Only 31% of entry level women have sponsors compared to 45% of men. Mentors give advice, mentors give encouragement, mentors give you coffee and pep talks. Sponsors advocate for you in closed door meetings where your name comes up and you are not in the room. Sponsors fight for your promotion. Sponsors open doors. Sponsors change your trajectory. LaToya Boyd says if you want to launch your career, if you want to build wealth, if you want to create legacy, you need allies who will fight for you when it counts, not just people who will cheer for you from the sidelines. Third, combat burnout strategically. 60% of senior Black women face frequent burnout from the unrecognized managerial tasks, the diversity work, the culture work, the emotional labor. LaToya Boyd says, build boundaries, get AI fluent, because only 21% of women are encouraged to develop those skills. Sustain your ambition without regression. Protect your peace as a practice, not as a luxury. Rest is not laziness. Rest is resistance. Rest is revolutionary. This is the heart of what LaToya Boyd teaches. This is the essence of sovereign leadership. And this is what the soft girl era is all about. Because the soft girl era is not about giving up ambition. It is not about lowering your standards. It is not about shrinking. It is about releasing the cape. It is about redefining strength. It is about learning to be soft in a world that taught us survival. High achieving Black women have spent decades in survival mode, leading teams, raising families, holding down households, carrying communities on our backs. And now we are exhausted. We are ready to shift from constantly grinding to finally grounding in joy, in peace, in softness, in self prioritization. The soft girl era is the sacred pause we have been waiting for. It is not a trend, it is a lifestyle rebellion. It is a deep exhale from the Superwoman script. It is a quiet but powerful return to softness, rest, self trust, and radical joy. LaToya Boyd is helping women understand that softness is not weakness. Softness is a radical act of self love. Saying no without guilt is not selfish, it is self preservation. Setting boundaries without apology is not rude, it is required. Resting without explanation is not lazy, it is liberation. And healing in real time, tending to past wounds while building future dreams. That is not indulgent. That is intentional. That is sacred. So here's my challenge for you. What if you stopped waiting for the system to recognize your worth? What if you stopped performing strength and started embodying softness? What if you stopped grinding and started grounding? What if you audited one sponsor relationship today and identified one burnout trigger in your career right now? What if you regulated your nervous system so you could lead from unshakable internal authority? What if you stopped climbing the broken corporate ladder and built your own throne? LaToya Boyd is showing us the way. Ursula Burns showed us the way. Rosalind Brewer showed us the way. Melody Hobson showed us the way. And now it is our turn. It is time to reclaim our power. It is time to regulate our energy. It is time to demand sponsorship. It is time to combat burnout. It is time to break the concrete ceiling. It is time to build our own thrones. It is time to enter our soft girl era, uh, not out of burnout, but out of reverence, not out of exhaustion, but out of empowerment, not out of survival, but out of sovereignty. The world will not give you permission. The system will not validate you. The ladder will stay broken. So stop asking, stop waiting, stop grinding, start grounding, start building, start leading from the throne you were always meant to sit on. Reflect, regulate, reclaim your power. The revolution starts now.